It may only be the month of May, but that doesn't mean there's not a lot to talk about in regards to our Green Bay Packers. The NFL Draft took place in Michigan recently, and the Green and Gold made some very interesting choices this year. Wayne and I will discuss that and more, all coming up next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
And me, I am Wayne Henderson. So glad to be back with you as we kick off the 14th season of your Packers Fan Podcast. And you know, it's the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion, Green Bay Packers.
I'm Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider Podcast, and it sure feels good to be back in the saddle, even if only for a short burst, on the mic with my old green and gold buddy. On this 296th episode of the Packers Fan Podcast, we got the 2024 draft selections that have been made. We're going to talk about how we're feeling about the Packers picks. Let's talk about it. Also, I got to tour an NFL stadium. I get to talk about another NFL stadium that I will be touring in the near future. So got lots of details to share with you on that.
Ooh. That sounds fantastic. And dear listener, I'm glad to have you back with us as well. If it's your first time, welcome. Listener Captain Pack Sparrow, he went to the draft in Detroit a couple weeks ago and has sent in some great thoughts and tips for us all to consider if we're thinking of going to the draft next year in Titletown, Green Bay, Wisconsin. And before digging into the draft, I am loving, much like you, Scott, being back behind the PFP mic. How have you been? How have your off-season adventures been going? You mentioned just a minute ago about going to stadiums. What else you up to?
Well, I mean, there is no off-season when it comes to video games, so I'm still plugging along with the Gaming Outsider. Each and every week, we actually recorded our 500th episode last night, if you can believe it.
Wow.
Nearly 10 years I've been recording the Gaming Outsider podcast, still live and thriving. Besides that, been doing some travel. Like I said, my wife and I went to Denver to see the Broncos Stadium, and I got some fun facts to share with you, man. I didn't even know that it was, to me, it's Mile High Stadium, right? It's Mile High Stadium. But you know how sponsorships work and everything. Right. So it is now called Empower Field at Mile High. It was really cool. This is another one that we were able to check off of our list. It's got a 76,000 plus capacity. It is actual real grass. I knew you'd be excited about that.
Indeed.
Wayne. 100% Kentucky bluegrass. They had a really interesting system built into it since it is an outdoor stadium and the weather is nuts in Denver. It snowed as soon as we got there, and then it was bright sunshine the next day. It was crazy. But they actually have a system that if there is any moisture, that underneath the stadium literally can suck water out of the field and just get it out of there. It sucks out about 5 inches of moisture an hour if it rains. So even if it's raining, the field is moderately dry, which I thought was kind of interesting. So
convenient.
Yeah, right? Took about 2 years to build the stadium, and they actually finished it 6 days ahead of schedule, which I've been told never happens.
I've never heard of anything in America being done ahead of schedule.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
Was it under budget as well?
I don't know if it was under budget, but it did cost about $400.8 million to build. I did not ask that question about under budget, but interestingly, the first game played at the stadium was on September 10th, 2001. If you remember, the next day was a very important day in our history. It's just kind of crazy that, first game of the season and the next day, tragedy happens in our country. And the last really cool information I had there was their Jumbotron. They actually replaced the Jumbotron. It's actually not that much bigger than the original. But it is still 228 feet wide by 48 feet tall. But the really cool thing they have with this thing is it is in complete 4K resolution. I didn't know they could make a 4K screen that large. It was really, really cool to see. So that was awesome. Over Memorial Day, my wife and I are actually flying down to Tampa to see Raymond James Stadium, which is the home of the Buccaneers. So I will have more details for you on that one in the near future, but that's going to be about 6 of them checked off our list now. So, it just keeps going and going, man.
You're making a heck of a lot of headway on all of those. And then, of course, when you get through all those, you got to go visit Tottenham Hotspur and all of the other international stadiums because, why not?
Yeah, those are a little more expensive to make those happen.
Well,
true.
We
can get cheap flights over a weekend and make some of these happen. I've still got even some like moderately local ones that aren't too far to drive. Detroit, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Cincinnati. Those are all within like 6 to 8 hours drive, so I don't even have to worry about flying. So those are possibilities too.
Excellent. And me just got back last week from 12 fabulous days in Japan. Went to Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka. Oh my goodness, the food. And everybody was so polite and organized. The trains were much easier than they looked like on paper. All the subways and train systems. It was like being in another world. And I know in a lot of ways it was being in another world, but I highly recommend it. I know about 11 phrases in Japanese, and I use them all often. They came in quite handy. Very cool.
Very cool. And I'm a little jealous. Only thing I've ever been out of the country is Canada and Mexico. And Australia. I did go to Australia over the summer. So I don't know if I talked about that on the show yet or not, but had a really great trip down there. It was a good time.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. Well, shall we?
Let's do it, man.
So we had the NFL draft, and as always, I get super excited because I just know the team's going to be better than ever every single year. And this year, it was kind of an obvious pick at the first pick, but much needed because round 1, pick 25, Jordan Morgan. He's an offensive tackle out of Arizona, 6'5", 311 pounds. And he started 37 games at left tackle at his college, 12 games at left tackle in 2023, and earned first all Pac-12 conference honors. Oh, and last season, Scott, he allowed just 2 sacks with 780 snaps.
787 snaps.
Oh,
right?
That's right. I missed one. That one just flew over my head. You're right. 787 snaps, only 2 sacks. That's what I like to see in a left tackle. And here's hoping that he can step into David Bakhtiari's shoes and do a brilliant job of protecting Jordan Love. In fact, I saw D-Back post congratulations out to Jordan Morgan on social media. So if D-Back's all good with it, I'm good with it. And let's protect Jordan Love because, as he proved last season, he is our future.
Absolutely. The biggest questions about a Morgan revolve around his strength and durability. He did have a torn ACL. So that's something to keep an eye on. But he does have great hand discipline and elite footwork, as well as the versatility to work at tackle and guard. Obviously, the position of need is tackle, but it's clear that the Pac's philosophy with their offensive linemen is to get players that could be moved around and play multiple positions. Morgan absolutely fits this need and philosophy, so I think this is a really solid pick. And I think it's interesting just looking at all these picks. They're not... I like what a layperson would call like explosive picks. These are more much needed picks in my opinion. Everybody wants to see what we're going to do on offense. What are we going to do with running backs and wide receivers and all that? And there was some of that, but I feel like we were filling the gaps where we needed them a lot more this season, and that was cool. Moving on to round 2, pick 45 we got that pick from the New Orleans Saints. Edgerrin Cooper at linebacker from Texas A&M. This whole, from what I've been told, is that the linebackers this season is a much weaker class. So Cooper was basically the best player at this position and was the first linebacker off of the board the entire draft. He's 6'3", 230 pounds, and ran the 40-yard dash in 4.51. He's another versatile player who is strong against the run, but also has the ability to play in coverage as well. He should fill the void of Devondre Campbell very well since he left for San Francisco in the offseason. So another solid pick.
I'm loving them.
Yeah. We had another pick in round 2, pick number 58, Javon Bullard. Bullard?
Not sure yet. We'll find out week 1.
He's a safety from Georgia. The Pack is definitely weak in safety depth, but Bullard is less of a depth pick and more of a potential starter pick. Versatility seems to be the key this season. He's strong on the back end of the defense, good in coverage against the run. He had a key highlight from his college career My buddy Matt actually sent me a clip of this, and I watched it. He has a hit on Marvin Harrison Jr. in the national championship game.
Oh, yeah?
This saved a score, but also knocked him out of the game, changing the momentum that OSU had at the time. I watched that play a few times. It was he actually got like a targeting call on him, but it was reversed because there was no helmet contact. But this is a great value pick, which is interesting to say in round 2, but that's what it is.
You got to take the best available player when you can. Stacking up the defense. Now, we did go a little bit of offense here. Round 3, pick 88, we took Marshawn Lloyd, running back from USC. And obviously, Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon will be our main running backs on week 1. But you got to admit, it's great to have an addition in the running back room, such as Marshawn Lloyd. In fact, Senior Bowl Executive Director Jim Nagy said that Marshawn was the best back in the draft. So that makes me feel even better. And some other folks have said some exciting things about Marshawn Lloyd, like his ability to set up blocks, has good footwork and a wide base, going to make him hard to tackle in the open field. And much like all of our other running backs, he's got a good pass-catching ability.
This is another player picked for depth, but he has some serious chops to play. Obviously, that's not going to happen right off the bat since the Packers' running depth is already pretty solid. But 4.46 on the 40-yard dash. He's definitely a one-cut style running back who'll put his foot in the ground and blow through a hole given the chance. He does struggle a bit with anticipating spaces for running room, but can still make an impact. This is one where we probably could have gotten this pick in another round. There were some other better options at the time. We might have been able to get him later and get something better, but I'm still not mad at the pick.
No, how can you be?
Yeah. Round 3, pick number 91 from we got that pick from the Buffalo Bills, was Tyron Hopper, linebacker from Missouri. This is a tremendous value pick in the 4th round. Again, more depth and versatility. This is a guy that played 4 full years in college. He's very raw, but can absolutely be refined into a starter. So another solid one there.
Even raw after 4 full years?
Yeah. Well, just raw in play style, not necessarily raw in time spent. He's just a very...
Got it.
Yeah. Round 4, pick 111, Evan Williams, safety from Oregon. This guy's more of a box safety than a coverage guy, but he can still do both. He did miss several opportunities for turnovers, but he wasn't able to convert a lot of those into picks. A lot of them were in the vicinity, but not many were turned over. He did pick up 5 sacks and 8 quarterback pressures at the safety position, which is impressive. And he's been described to me as the Swiss Army knife type of player that can be a great asset as a depth guy. So again, versatility seems to be the key this year.
And we have a new defensive coordinator, so things are definitely going to come into play. Then in the 5th round, pick 163 that we got in a trade from the Buffalo Bills, Jacob Monk. He's an offensive lineman from Duke. And according to Duke University, Jacob Monk was a 2-time team captain, a 3-time All-ACC recipient, and he helped Duke to 27 wins and 2 bowl game victories, which is no easy feat in college football. And Jacob played 59 games at Duke with 58 starts at guard, tackle, and center. Again, versatility.
Yeah, what's interesting is this guy, it's a lot of the sources can't decide what position he is. Some have him listed as a center, some as a tackle, but this is good news for the Packers because he's got that ability to play in multiple positions. Like you said, he started 58 games, played all 3 spots on the line at Duke. The only issue is he's a tad undersized, so he's going to need to bulk up before playing with the big boys.
Well, luckily he's in Green Bay, Wisconsin. There's plenty of opportunities to bulk up in and around Green Bay.
Well, different kind of bulking up, Wayne, but yeah, now I want a brat. Round 5, pick 169, Ketan Oladipo, the safety from Oregon State. Another safety, very similar play style to the previous pick, Evan Williams. He is one of the best tacklers at his position in the country. He could make a huge impact on special teams right away, as well as rotate in. So another solid pick.
And how many times last season, Scott, did we and the listeners complain about tackling issues?
Well, yeah, especially on special teams. Granted, it wasn't nearly as bad as it was a couple seasons ago where oh my goodness, At least they improved, and with these picks, it looks like things could get even better.
We'll take it. In round 6, pick 202, Travis Glover, an offensive tackle from Georgia State. What kind of details did you track down on him? Because I didn't see too much myself.
All right, this guy is 6'6", 323 pounds. He's got some long arms, some decent feet. He's going to be good at both the run and pass protections. He started 57 games at Georgia State as both a guard and a tackle. He's a solid run blocker who plays with power, and he's got that stroke of nasty you'll want to see out of a lineman.
Oh.
So, yeah, this is another great depth pick.
Excellent. And then round 7 was here before we knew it. Pick 245, quarterback, Michael Pratt from Tulane, and obviously not vying for the starting job right now, but are there some good things to look at it, Michael, as he makes his way through minicamp and camp?
Well, yeah, I mean, Jordan Love's only backup right now is Sean Clifford.
Right.
So this was a much-needed pick to back up our quarterback. He's not the big name that this class provided, but he's got some pros and cons. He's got solid touch, doesn't turn the ball over, which is something we love to hear. But he's a smaller kid. Doesn't quite have the arm strength, so he's not going to be a deep ball threat. But this was a decent pick for an end of the draft type of pick.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Round 7, pick 255 was Kalen King, cornerback from Penn State. This is a total steal at the end of the draft. This is a guy that had a rough junior year, but he really blossomed in his sophomore year into a guy that was thought at the time to be a top pick. So to get this guy in the seventh round, he's got his work cut out for him, though, as there is a lot of depth at the corner position with Green Bay. So I think this is he's going to really have to pull a lot of hard work here. But I think it's much needed.
Absolutely. And I got to have an honorable mention shout out to listener Dan Dyler, a.k.a. Pack Sparrow, who made quite a spectacular entrance in the aisles midway through the draft on the NFL Network feed. Probably my favorite moment from the entire draft because he was eating it up, the camera was eating it up, and it makes me want to ask, can I get a Go Pack Go?
Go Pack Go indeed. That was really cool to see. When he posted that, I was like, there's no way he actually was on there. Oh, he definitely was, and he was hamming it up. He's putting that Pack Sparrow costume to some good use. He moves way better than I could ever move. I can't move like that. He was just having a good old time.
Keeping Detroit happy. And, neither you or I follow college football all that closely, so we're not familiar with a lot of the players in particular that the Packers selected, but we will be very, very soon. But in the meantime, let me ask you this. Are you happy with the positions that the Packers drafted?
Yeah, before I answer that, Wayne, I just got to give a shout out because, yes, I know very, very little about college football. I don't follow the games. I could not have told you a single player's name going into this. Every year when we do an episode on the draft, I reach out to my good friend from my community over at the Gaming Outsider. His name is Matt Sattler. He is a college football aficionado, and he put together a massive list of information for me about these players. He is the guy that makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Excellent.
So he was my research, so thank you very much, Matt. I really appreciate the help. I kind of lean on him each year, and it's very much appreciated. So to answer your question, yes, for the most part, I'm pretty happy. I think that the needed gaps were definitely filled. I think I'm not even sure if it's needed. I wanted to see at least one wide receiver pick in there. But again, we've got a decent amount of depth there. It's just that they're all so young. You know what I mean? And I know that adding another young player is not going to be the answer to that. But they're growing with Jordan Love, so I just got to kind of be satisfied with what we've got. And I couldn't have told you what we would have sacrificed because I think that the picks we had were very much needed. How about you?
I agree, and the fact that even our quote-unquote youngest wide receivers that were in year 2 last year, they're now going to be year 3 veterans. So I'm not worried about the wide receiver position at all. And for myself, I am more confident and excited for this 2024 Green Bay Packers team than I have been for our team during this entire offseason, maybe since 2021 or maybe even since 2019, the season before the pandemic. I am very happy with our choices, the positions we filled. We're taking care of all of the cracks, and just watch out, people. Just watch out. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it was kind of refreshing to have a draft where you just didn't have Packers all over social media complaining about picks. Like, remember when Jordan Love was drafted and everyone was like, what is going on? And clearly that was a good call. That was a very good call. So, and then we made a lot of cornerback picks that season, I believe, as well. So it just felt really great to see everybody a bit more united about the results of the draft for a change. So yeah, that was awesome to see.
That's a good observation. I hadn't really noticed it, mostly because the lack of too much whining on social media, which is always a good thing. I also wanted to get a feel for the listeners, how they felt. So in our Facebook group at PackersCommunity.com, as well as on X, I posted a poll question. Basically, Packers fans, which position area drafted do you think will have the most immediate impact this upcoming season? Offensive line, safety, linebacker, or that running back that we drafted? How about you, Scott, before we dig into the results and comments?
Boy, I mean, the easy answer is safety, just because we got two studs drafted, this season. But I still think offensive line is where it's at. With what happened last season with Bakhtiari, and the rest of the team really stepping up and protecting him quite well. I'm ready for another season of that, and I think these picks are really going to stack the deck in our favor in terms of the offensive line. So I'm going to go with offensive line. How about you?
That's a good choice right there. I have a feeling that the new linebackers are going to make an impact. I would like to see somehow them get up to speed really quick and be able to go out there. I want to see more opposing quarterbacks sacked. I mean, our defense has been doing some good stuff, and obviously, like you said, we need the safety help. But some more quarterback sacks would be very, very helpful indeed. And the votes that came in after you combine Twitter, X, whatever, with Facebook, came down to 57% of the votes went for the safety position, being able to make the most immediate impact this year, followed by linebacker at 21%, offensive line at 16%, and running back at 6%.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of what you expected. I expected a lot of the votes to go safety for sure, but I'm going with my heart with the offensive line. We also got some comments on the poll in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook group. First off, Sir Troy Heinrichs, the legendary man himself, whose seat I took a few years ago on this very show. He says, after the Bears drafted quarterback Caleb Williams at number 1 overall. Can we just laugh about that for a minute?
Yes.
And receiver Rome Odunze at number 9, and the Vikings traded up for quarterback J.J. McCarthy at number 10. Between the potential of Williams throwing to DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Odunze, McCarthy throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and Jared Goff leading the explosive Lions, the NFC North passing attacks are no joke. And don't forget the last two NFC champions, the Philadelphia Eagles and San Francisco 49ers, have star-studded receiver core as well. How are the Packers going to stop those prolific passing games? Maybe Jair Alexander will return to all-pro form, but Eric Stokes hasn't broken up a pass since 2021, and Carrington Valentine's rookie season was a wild ride of inconsistency. Doesn't Gutekunst have to worry about matching up for those 6 NFC North games? One cornerback in the entire draft? One cornerback in the entire draft? Maybe one of the safeties will transition over. And I think that's the key there, is they've relied on safeties. So
those are some
points, though.
Solid points, Troy. Very solid indeed. And I believe since Troy posted that reply, I think Eric Stokes may no longer be with the team. I'm still recovering from jet lag. I'm still having dreams. Every night I wake up in the middle of the night still thinking that I'm at some different hotel in Japan, or maybe even on a Japanese train. And so I left a part of me in Japan, apparently. But those are great points. But the Caleb Williams, he's going to be, I believe, throwing more interceptions to the Packers defense and the Lions defense than he is to his receivers, at least this first year. And starting a rookie, the Bears, they're all excited. A few years ago, it was that quarterback that they took who's no longer there. And before that, a few years earlier, Trubisky. In fact, the Bears were actually excited when they got Jay Cutler from the Broncos. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried about the Bears. I don't care what weapons they have. Caleb Williams isn't going to be able to get it done, especially year one. The Lions, they're going to have a target on their back. It's going to be hard for them to duplicate everything they did last year. They're certainly no joke. And the Frisco Niners, they get to come to Lambeau Field this year. And I hope when the schedule comes out later this week, I hope it's a game in December or January.
Yeah, right.
Just because. And I'm not even going to talk about the Vikings. We also got a comment from Jacob Searles. I hope we can get the new offensive linemen rolling quick and have a solid front for Love in the running game. Also excited to see the new linebacking core, hopefully just stuffing some runners.
Yeah, he makes a good point, too. Like, I always think offensive linemen in terms of protecting Jordan Love, but, we got a running game, man. I keep having to pinch myself to remind myself that we've got a running game again. And, that's another reason why this offensive line is so important. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're doing.
And we're definitely going to miss Aaron Jones. But the fact that we got Josh Jacobs, it's not this for that or whatever, but Jones is gone. He went in the division. Good luck, sir. But Josh Jacobs is no joke at running back.
Yeah, and I think that I think it was actually a good swap. I like Aaron Jones. I think he's not a spring chicken anymore, So I think this was a positive move in the right direction, or at least I'm looking at it with green and gold tinted glasses, like dear friend Wayne Henderson.
That's the way to go, Scott.
Well, we got some listener voicemails and emails. We would love it if you sound off, share your thoughts on the 2024 game schedule on the next episode of the Packers Fan Podcast by either recording your voice on your phone or computer and emailing the recording to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com or by calling the PFP voicemail at +1 920 3PACK-GO. We've got the full schedule is supposed to be released by May 9th or 10th. As predicted, your voicemail deadline is going to be Sunday, May 12th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And as is tradition, the earlier the better. Let's go ahead and kick things off with a voicemail from Mr. Dan himself.
Go, 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 Pack, go! Oh, it feels so good to be able to say that again. Football season is right around the corner. I can't wait to hear everybody's takes on the draft. I'm not going to share my thoughts on that. I know the listeners and Scott and Wayne, they're going to have that covered, but I want to talk about actually going to the draft. It was such an amazing experience. If you were thinking about going to the draft in Green Bay, stop thinking about it and commit to it and start planning. Start planning now. Lodging is going to be at a premium. It's going to be extremely expensive. I looked ahead, and just to stay at the swanky Motel 6 5 miles from Lambeau Field is going to run you about $2,200 right now. Honestly, it's going to come down to how far do you want to drive or how much do you want to spend. Arrive with no expectations because it's going to be packed. It's going to be loaded up in that area, in that whole Lambeau Field campus that you're going to see. They had predicted 300,000 for Detroit, and they ended up having 775,000. The scope and the size of this thing is going to knock everybody's socks off unless you've experienced something similar. Get there early. The earlier you get there, the more chance you have to experience the different things they have going around. Absolutely download the NFL One Pass app. That's going to give you all the great info, the map, the schedule of when the autograph sessions are going to be and all the activities. Prepare for the weather. It was beautiful all 3 days in Detroit. They got really lucky. We have no idea what the weather's going to be like there up in Green Bay in the end of April. You never know how it's going to roll. It might snow. It might be sunny. You never know. You just got to prepare for it. Fortunately for me, I had one of the best experiences of my life outside of getting married and having a child and those family things, those things that are really, truly important. But one of my top sports experiences of my life, getting into that draft theater both nights, was phenomenal. I don't know how I was able to pull that off. I mean, I know I'm dressed up and I probably, look the part of what the NFL wants to be broadcast on national television, but it was just one of the coolest experiences. These draft theaters are absolutely huge. I try to look at some stats. The theater in Kansas City was 378 feet wide by 176 foot tall. So you're talking about just this massive, massive structure. And it took 4 weeks to build, over 500 semis to haul, over 50 million LED pixels. It held over 1,500 fans, as well as all the support personnel, TV, radio, and all that kind of stuff. The NFL spent over $25 million in Detroit, and that's not including all this money that the city, county, and the state of Michigan put up to beef up infrastructure. And again, just based off my experience in Detroit, if you are on the fence about going, don't be on the fence. Go, commit. This is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience, guys. I'm telling you, I want to see PFP Nation up there. I can't wait to see, after being surrounded by Honolulu Blue a couple weeks ago, I cannot wait to be surrounded by the green and gold, the best colors in football, the best team, the best fans in football, the best city of football. Come on, let's go, 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 Pack, go!
Go, Pack, go indeed. Dan, thank you so much. Love your enthusiasm. And again, dude, it was great to see you in that clip. Holy cow, I had no idea it was going to be that expensive to stay at a Motel 6.
Yikes.
Already. That's like a year away. Goodness gracious. I'm going to have to hit up, I don't know, Scott Boers or somebody up there, see if they've got an air mattress in his basement or something, because that is redonkulous. But I, in all honesty, man, it would be cool to be there for the energy. But again, with my limited knowledge of college ball, I just don't know. But at the same time, when's it ever going to happen again? That it's going to be in Green Bay. So, I'm so torn.
Yeah, like Dan said, once in a lifetime event. This will be the one chance for probably at least 30 years before it gets to be in Green Bay again. And yeah, the weather can be a little iffy. So can you imagine even just the possibility of a snowstorm of some sorts at the NFL draft?
Oh, dude, stranger things have happened, and that would actually be just kind of like a perfect Green Bay way to do that. It would be awesome. I don't know if you've been there, but like they've got like toboggan hills and tubing hills and everything all around the stadium, and it would be really great. But it's just going to be so many people, and not just Packers fans, and not just Packers fans and an opposing team's fans. It's going to be so many fans from all over the country. It's just going to be a zoo. I get stressed out just thinking about it. But
it is going to be a lot of people. But
it's going to be a lot of people.
There's a lot of people in Tokyo the 5 days I was there, and they weren't even wearing green and gold. And great information, Dan. We really appreciate you sending that in. Great tips. Get there early. I forgot all about the NFL One Pass app. If you can get a good cell reception or Wi-Fi of some sort, that's got to be a lifesaver. And always good advice to temper your expectations. And then if great things happen, it's just like gravy, because people like gravy, right?
Well, they do in Wisconsin.
Indeed. Thanks again, Dan. And we hope to hear from you and other listeners after the schedule comes out. Let us know what games really pique your interest, which ones you might be planning to go to, which ones are going to be the hardest. And of course, your way too early predictions of what the Packers are going to do with their 17-game season coming up. We do know the one game they released that week 1, the Packers are going to be playing the Eagles in Brazil, right?
I believe so, yes.
So a little bit far of a drive for me to make it to see that game. And yeah, why not start the season off with probably the hardest game on the entire schedule?
Exactly, right. It's going to be rough.
But make it through that one, and who knows? Oh, we also got an email. Hello, Wayne and Scott. This is CCR from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Thought we had a great draft. Although we didn't get any wide receivers, we did stack up on defense. and off the offensive line, and we can't wait for the season. Also, of course, can't wait for our Packers to hopefully get to the Super Bowl. You got that right, Caleb. Go Pack, go. Bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher. Oh, and happy belated birthday, Roy.
Yeah, happy birthday. As always, guys, your calls, emails, comments, and support are always the highlight of the Packers Fan Podcast. We are looking forward to all of the action when the next season of games arrives. Remember to be part of the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community and be part of the conversation at packerscommunity.com. Before we get out of here, I would like to remind you all about my other podcast, The Gaming Outsider. As I mentioned, we just recorded our 500th episode, and we actually spent a good portion of that episode talking about some crazy news that happened in the world of video games this year. Sony made a unfortunate decision regarding one of their own properties, and I ranted and raved on this episode because I was so angry, and then that night they reversed their call, so I look really stupid now on this episode. So if you'd like to hear me talk like an idiot about something that at the time was very relevant and got me all fired up, you can listen to us at the same places you listen to this episode, or you can find it at our site, thegamingoutsider.com, and also mark your calendars if you're a video game fan. We have officially set a date for our third video game convention. It's going to be taking place on Saturday, October 12th, and Sunday, October 13th. We are doing a 2-day event at a real fancy ballroom in Rockford called Cliff Breakers. Very, very excited. We got about 11,000 square feet of space. We've got a developer that is bringing a 3-on-3 virtual reality laser tag game. We actually have a 6,000 square foot space reserved just for that. It's going to be awesome, and I really hope everybody would love to meet some of y'all in person if you're in the Rockford area in October. So there you go.
Scott, that's going to be epic. It's getting bigger and better every year, and it's just the third. And I know how much work you and the gang put into that. So it's going to be fantastic. And you said it was Sony that reversed their decision. Do you think it's because of the outcry, or did they just make a clerical error and they're like, "Oh, we're sorry"?
No. It was a outcry. Everybody has been just complaining for the last 48 hours or so about this. So what happened is they have a game called Helldivers 2 that is exclusive to PlayStation and PC. And it is hugely popular. Everybody is absolutely loving this game. It's got nothing but positivity. People are talking about it as a Game of the Year contender for 2024. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, Sony made the decision that PC players who are playing the game must sign into a PlayStation Network account in order to be able to play the game, which is really stupid because why sign into another? They said it was for safety and security, but this is the same company that let everybody's credit card numbers and sign-in passwords and stuff loose on the internet several years ago. But not only that, PSN, PlayStation Network, is not available in all countries. So there's something like 130, 140 countries that do not have legal access to the PlayStation Network. So this $40 game that they just paid for by the end of the month was going to be no good to them. They were not going to be able to play it anymore. It was a huge mess, but thanks to the outcry and thanks to some common sense, they backed it up and reversed that. Of course, after I recorded the episode talking about it. So that's how quickly my words traveled, I guess. I don't know.
It's got it all turned around, and here are all the details on the 500th episode of The Gaming Outsider at thegamingoutsider.com. Now, in my If You Know, You Know segment, as a reminder, your Packers Fan Podcast is also available to download and listen to on the most sleek and modern podcasting 2.0 capable apps. My favorite is the Fountain podcast listing apps. More features are coming available all the time in these cutting edge apps that you won't get in your basic podcast player that comes with your phone or whatever. And some of them even allow you to send instant in-app messages called boostograms while you're listening, and the capability potentially to broadcast your show live, though live is kind of a scary word. And you can stream Satoshis, micro mini pieces of Bitcoin right through the apps as well. So find a replacement or a supplemental podcast listening app at newpodcastapps.com.
With much gratitude, we send hearty Go Pack Goes to this month's Packers Fan Podcast patrons. Your Patreon pledges have been especially gratifying to see during the off-season as we renewed the PackersFanPodcast.com URL and the PackersCommunity.com URL in addition to the monthly hosting cost and things like that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you'd like to support the show as well and get some perks or PFP swag along the way, check out the details at PackersFanPodcast.com/giveback. Jay Walters, thank you and Go Pack Go for your AR12 level Patreon support. Dan Dollar's J Love 10 level patronage also warrants a Go Pack Go and a thank you.
As well, Go Pack Go and thank yous to our fine Favre-tastic $4 supporters, Scott Boers, Megan and Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Attract podcast. And many thanks and Go Pack Goes as well going out to Patreon supporters at the Curly Lambeau founder level, Hank Davis from the TPE Network, Joe Christensen, and Brett Connor as well. Again, if interested in joining in, check out all the details, PackersFanPodcast.com/giveback. Want to remind you, the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast is not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers. Please tell even more of your friends about the Packers Fan Podcast. You've been doing a spectacular job of it so far, and I must say you all look great sharing the love of the Packers Fan Podcast. Thank you so much.
Also, you can follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @PackersFanPod. My personal handle is @GoCastScott, or you can follow my podcast, The Gaming Outsider, @TheGoCast. And then Wayne's handle is also @WayneHenderson. While we wait for the game schedules, here's PFP community members Megan, Dan Dollar, Joe Christensen, and Andre with their Go Pack Go outro in order to get us prepped and ready for the upcoming schedule.
Go Pack Go!
Go Pack Go!